Aloha. I wanted to share a quick overview of some dreams that I had and related to some things I've been trying to figure out recently. The whole design of this flat earth and this how it relates to biblical stuff and the firmament and the the whole the whole program or system that we are within and how it relates to the fear design and the separation design and how religion has been set up to make us think a certain way and make us act certain ways, along with what the design of this place is. And this is just my thoughts on what this design is all about based upon my observations of the flat earth and this information that's available to us so far, and tying in my dreams and just general questions, because it's been a good amount of time to where I've been contemplating, and I never even noticed these three dots right there on Nut. But anyway, so it kind of reminds me of these three dots right here in the sky, and this is the main point of the dream, which is, or the dream, but the focus of this video was of these dreams and about water being all around us and this being like a big bubble of air, and this air, the air that we breathe, is this separation program of experience. So the separation, the bubble, the firmament, the air god creating a space for us to experience within the waters of Nun, or in the space of the waters of Nun, having existing on the earth god, breathing the air of the sky god and drinking the waters of the Most High, which is all around and within us. Oh, wow, I never even thought I was gonna go there with that. But yeah, so in relation to the whole, I don't even really have to go into the dreams, but I've been having a whole bunch of dreams recently, and they've been metaphorical dreams to where they were obvious because it was back to back. Focus on dogs. The night before yesterday. Yeah, so 3 nights ago. I had 2 dreams in a row where I was carrying this dog across the street in one dream, and then I had to jump the fence to go get this dog that escaped out of the house and bring it back. I had to go through this gate and pick up this and type in this code to get through the gate with this dog in my arms, and I became lucid in that dream. And then remember thinking to myself like, oh man, what am I doing on this big ass dog? He should just be able to walk. And then I remember just becoming very lucid because I was walking with the dog, and when you travel over a distance, you can become lucid in a dream more. And then I just remember just being like, oh, I should be able to just fly right now, but I couldn't fly because I had a responsibility, and first I had to put this big ass dog down. So I was like, all right. So in that space of, all right, I woke up. And then the next day, I had a dream where I was walking across the street in a busy intersection. I remember seeing the crosswalk. All this stuff is just metaphors galore. And I'll get to it'll all make sense in a second. So if you haven't already picked up all this stuff up, because we're all doing this walk in a sense. I was walking across the street, and before I walked across the street, I picked the dog up in my arms. This is a smaller dog this time, and then I got to the other side, and then I was talking to this lady, and this lady was kind of weird. She was kind of so. Yeah, she was just talking weird, which made me become lucid in the dream because I was like, why am I sitting here talking to this lady? Because she's just kind of weird right now. Like, and why did I carry this dog? This dog across the street. Anyway, that happened. And then the next day after that, my cousin came over who's a veterinarian. And then I remembered all the dreams. And then it was a big deal. It was more like obvious. It was like 1, 2, 3. Okay, now you got it. And she came out of nowhere, so it made it a big deal for me because I remembered both of those dreams the 2 days before, and then I was like, okay, well, I really need to start to interpret these dreams for myself, and it's all metaphorical. Dreams are always upside down, backwards, and I had started going into the wordplay and everything and relating it to what I've been talking about. And I didn't really put any pieces together until last night. I had a dream where I was in a building, a busy building again, like on a Friday night, and I remember these groups of people who were kind of like pursuing me, but not really pursuing me. And I remember being invisible to some people and invisible to other people. And I was in and out of spaces. And I remember having to take the elevator a bunch of times and to take the stairs a bunch of times. And this whole elevator, stairs, building, elevator lobby building theme, is a very definite dream theme. It's a reoccurring thing for me where I'm having these dreams. And the whole wordplay, like elevator, and that whole space. And I was relating it to Prince, the whole elevator stuff with him. And man, it's just that dream. It was heavy duty for me last night because it was really intense. And I just remembered waking up out of that space and being okay. Everything was cool, but it kind of like led me to want to interpret this reality on a deeper layer to understand more so what this place is and relate it to some of the stories that we are afraid of a lot of the times, that even I was afraid of speaking on in the past, because you start going into like biblical stories and some people and different kind of, not necessarily limited to the biblical stories, but encompassing all of them is how I'm trying to interpret this stuff, because it's not as simple as it's been dictated to us through these stories, and at the same time it's not as complicated to where we can't really understand it if we look into it with our own observations of interpreting this space. So I've been challenging myself to do that because I feel we can do it, and I'm sharing it with people and trying to just go to that space without having to like have to put it together from have it be told by anybody else. And so I want to thank people right now in this moment for helping me go to that space and responding on comments and adding to the whole storyline, because I'm seeing how these these storylines, the videos they're coming together as a big story. And I spoke on in reference to those dog dreams. I made a video in the back talking about the wordplay with God and dog, and that was in reference to gentrification, and how you see in the inner cities, like for example here in in like the Bay Area in Oakland, it's heavy duty gentrification out here, and the people that are moving here are they have dogs a lot, and I was just seeing how it's a control program, because it's a control grid, meaning like having dominance to dominate another thing, and it's being pawned off as like, oh yeah, you know, we're just taking care of protecting. But in that space when I was making that video, I was like, no, this is like a domination thing, and you're, because we are dominated. Like it's also a fear program. That's also where I was coming from, is people carry around dogs around here because they're protecting themselves a lot of the times, and it's a fear, inherently fear program. And then I was relating it to the control grid of you're dominated subconsciously and consciously in a space with the politics, the police, the prison industrial complex, the military industrial complex, and we're treated like dogs, pretty much, like animals. And then that's what the university system backs up, is that you're an animal, you're you need to be taken care of like an animal. And this is where the whole prison industrial complex comes in. We have the most people locked up and all this stuff. And then the balance to that is the fear that gets installed because we're in an animalistic environment. This is why the a lot of the science community comes around talking about, oh, you're just a monkey brain, you're just this, you're just that, we're no different than animals, you just eat meat, you're like a canine, and this whole thing, and look at your teeth are made for eating meat, and this whole, so it's this lower chakra triggering and vibration. And I've been trying to understand, like, that's just the one-sided version. Like, this body is in the physical reality, it exists. So as I was saying in other videos, like as above so below, and the yin and the yang, the electric and magnetic, the physical reality and the infinite space that we exist in. And as we can obviously see the physical side as of our manifestation, we can see that because it's part of our it's in the space of time, it's in the physical reality. But that's not our maximum nature, it's not our only nature, it's just one side of it. So I was relating this to so before I go there, I just want to finish the last part of the domination program, how we get amplified into that fear-driven victimization space, and then it's been amplified in our reality as like this whole control grid, to where you dominate like another animal, and then we have a domination over, instead of a harmonics with animals, we have this dominating reality, because we're just passing it down the line, just like parents send their thought patterns down to the children's. Like if you're a slave, then you teach your kids to be a slave, and then like it's just this. That's what the whole public education system is. It's just you're stuck in that space. So in this reality now, so that's how I was just seeing that whole thing. So in relation to, and in that whole flipping of God and dog, and you are, yeah, that's where I was going with it. You are actually the God of that dog. Like the dog looks up to you. Like you provide the food, the water, the education, everything. So just like the government does for you, they provide your food, your water, your resources, your money, which is your shelter, your comfort, your survivability, that whole everything. It's just from one space to another, and it's all focused on the animalistic version, and it doesn't. And in order to separate you from your creator space, you have the religion that is mocked in television to keep you from going into that space deeply, and it's taken apart by the money that's involved in the church and that whole thing, and they just destroy it. They just destroy your connection with spirit as a whole everywhere when they amplify the sexual design, the animalistic design, the evolution program, the university system, the understanding of astrology and astronomy, the whole, or the misunderstanding, I should say, the whole misunderstanding of ancient teachings, the misunderstandings of the indigenous people and cultures in connection with the earth plane, your connections with animals and animal spirits, and yeah, that everything is a separation program for control, and everything is backwards. So Hollywood tells you everything backwards. So yeah, so dog and then God and that flipping out. So yeah, so they present themselves as our gods, and then we present ourselves to our pets as their gods, and then that's how we have our relationship, and then that's it pretty much. And then a lot of the times the separation program goes really deep to where you start to raise your children like dogs. Like you just have to feed them, give them water, send them to school. Don't even have to interact with them. Create a space where like technology doesn't even have, you don't even have a relationship with your kids anymore because you're on social media all the time, or at the most extreme version, you're always either watching movies, cartoons, on the computer, on the video games, and don't even really have a relationship. You're in this like animalistic environment where everything is just based upon the lower spaces, the lower chakras of interaction. Just this primal engagement. So anyway, that was excuse me, the basis of that old video, and relating it to gentrification and that whole space. But how I wanted to relate it today to the higher planes is that in realizing the flat earth cosmology and everything, and seeing the story as it's written in different versions of our observation, that we have these beings in the sky, and I remember somebody was asking me in a comment, like, where does it say in the Bible that the fallen angels were here and there and this whole thing? And I just remember like seeing that it's not all about like one perspective, one version. Like that dude was all about the Bible, and Like, no, there's all these stories at the same time. You can't just look at one perspective. You have to look at all this stuff and then see what you feel about it. So this is where I was coming from. So in saying that and like emphasizing that to other people, I emphasize it even more, open myself up even more to that for myself. And I wanted to know, like, who are these beings up here? Like, what are these things up here? And I was just letting it be. I wasn't like researching on anything. I was just letting the information come in naturally. And this is where the dreams actually came in more deeply within the last few days, to where I was questioning it. And then I was seeing this whole like extremes of the positive and the negative. So if we are like, if I'm just observing it for myself right now, if we are extreme of the positive and the negative, and we have this understanding of the fallen angels, and then on one level you can see it just from an angel perspective. So you have the angels that are closest to God, or closest to the Creator, Most High, whatever you refer to that energy as. And then you have the angels who have separated themselves, who have fallen before even humanity starts. Coming from this perspective, just come from Earth not even being in existence right now, just an energy of the Most High creating the first beings, which are the angels. And in the angels having the ability to have positive and negative energies, and then the majority of them being on the positive side, and then you're having a few that are the separating ones, but they're still considered angels, and everything in between. And then you have this reality that gets created that has separated itself completely, but not ultimately. So completely wouldn't be the word, like to the 99th percentile of separation, for the sake of understanding the limitations as a whole, which is this limitation space that we are in. And then, so we have the waters of the Most High being within us and around us and through us, and this whole reality. And then we have air, earth, and the stars. And I was just relating this reality, this firmament, as like a bubble. And the air as an elemental separation of waters, like an air bubble underwater. And then having an experience within that air bubble, which is the earth plane. So interdimensionally, separations are, within dimensions. And bear with me, because it's all I'm just like piecing this together right now on my own, like seeing it. So the earth, so the first separation, and people reference the first fallen angel as Lucifer, and this whole making Lucifer the bad guy and everything. And then some people don't see Lucifer as the bad guy, but not your God or anything, but just like a fallen angel, or the representative of those who have fallen. And Lucifer is referenced as the air god. So I was referencing that with the air god of Shu, and then seeing the air of separation in waters, and then seeing now religions turning that into a program of control to make themselves out to be the good guys, because they've now created a bad guy, when in fact we are just on a basic nature having representatives for different layers of energy. So I was seeing Earth as being able to manifest within the air bubble as density, as the physical space, physical reality, density to exist within the water air bubble within the waters of Nun, and that having its own harmonics and relationship between air and water and earth, and us being the manifestation of that, and having only to experience this reality as a manifestation within the physical reality, and the only way you can exist here is to balance out the natures of positive and negative, or some people talk about good and evil, and light and dark, and yin and yang, electric and magnetic. All of these duality programs that people talk about here, which I explain as like the flicker rate, the on and off space of the flicker rate reality. Like, and some people see it as like the television too, is just a flicker rate. And then you look into like quartz crystal, which is, it's not a physical thing, it's a vibration, it's an on and off thing. So we are like a solidified version of reality. And consciousness is our ability to tap into the most high consciousness and choose for ourselves the reality of the angel spaces, so the angelic positive and negative frequencies, not putting any destruction in there, or fear or anything, just seeing it for what it is on the elemental scale, and then relating it to this place. So I was just relating to understand the firmament more, earth more, the elements, the angel programs, and the angel wars, and that whole space, the different variations, the different layers of manifestation of these storylines, and seeing that you might not see these stories in books or anything like that, because they've been told in different ways, different styles, so many times. And like I don't even remember seeing this image until just recently, and even this image until just recently, because I couldn't even comprehend it, like this whole space. So anyway, I guess that was pretty much it. So to summarize, basically we're like the manifestations of the angelic frequencies that are experiencing this physical reality, this bubble, this air bubble, and having to walk this through time, this path of evolving our consciousness, not in this space of evolution like the university system that locks us into the physical reality, but being able to choose from right and wrong, or good and bad, or light and dark, and this whole, however it manifests into our reality. But ultimately, we are the manifestations of this body is in the physical reality. So this is where this whole beast program comes in, to where you have the understandings of this ability that you have to channel like most high energy, or the worst of the worst, like I was explaining in other videos. And the control grid, the power, so-called powers that be, they want to convince you that you are an animal. They want to convince you that you are just the beast. Like you're just the body. You're limited by that creation, those thought patterns, that fake evolution program, and you have no connection to your creator or your most high space, which is why they hide the flat earth. And I wanted to focus this video on, and all my previous videos, on kind of like the realization of something more than that. And then I guess this video is getting closer to that by challenging those stories and stepping out there, talking about this stuff, because I was seeing this as a bubble. And I even referenced when I was talking to a very close friend of mine. We're not that close anymore, but I remember telling her that, like, there's all these bubbles, there's this bubbles, there's something with these bubbles. And that was a few years ago, and I didn't even understand what it was, but it was something. So now, yeah, I was seeing this as the air within the waters of the Most High, and we are breathing this air. We are existing as this water. We are existing as this earth. We are existing as the infinite space of those stars. We are a manifestation of this Most High consciousness, and we have within this space an idea of free will, to where we can choose to either be of the program of limitation that is one-sided, which is the physical reality. We can choose from which angel program, or the understanding of all of it as a whole eventually. But in each moment of choosing to make a so-called good decision or a bad decision is kind of like being able to choose between good and evil, and evolving your consciousness as a whole to go closer to the source, closer to your most high energy, or go further away. It's your option in this reality. And ultimately, collectively, we are moving closer to that most high creative source by realizing our purpose and our meaning as a whole, and as individuals, but collectively with seeing like these stories of that have been told in the past. We can see that we are moving closer and closer to coming back, because we've been far away. We fell far away from our understandings of our reality. And then within that space of limbo, these control grid people and entities moved in and utilized that space for whatever hoarding of energy, so they can exist through us. But we are realizing our connections now through putting these stories together and seeing that there's more energy that exists through us, as us, and that we have a meaning and a purpose here. So I think I pretty much said everything that relates to taking that whatever kind of hesitation comes from talking about these kind of stories of good and evil, and light and dark, and kind of expanded it upon like the physical reality and separation and air. That was my main point that I wanted to do, is talk about like what people refer to as like the beast program and all that stuff. So, like, no, we have the physical reality, we have air, we have separation, we have angels, we have demons, we have all this stuff that exists, but how does it all fit together, and where do we exist in this space? And I just wanted to share that kind of expansion of how I'm seeing it as the air, the waters, the earth, the firmament, and the whole design of the separation program, the control grid, religion, all this stuff, how it all fits in, separating us. And we're coming back, putting the story, piecing the stories together without judgment. Yeah. So I'll leave it there. I'm sure I missed something. I'll add in the next videos. Until next time, peace, love. Thank you for joining me, and harmony.